Coach is going to put the best person out there on the court at all times. So I love that with sports because we're challenged with that every single day. Now, I'm giving you that scenario of somebody outside your job. Now, here's what's interesting. You now you now know that this person is ready to replace you. So now you go on into work, and now you're feeling a little different, because man, if I don't get to work, if I don't get there on time, if I don't bring my A game, man, they got somebody right on the bench ready to replace me. Interesting. So how does that sit well with you as I tell this scenario? Now, I can tell you from my experience, that didn't sit well with you. And I just gave you a made up scenario. All right. So here's what's more interesting about that scenario. My little raw research data that I did with that is that 98% of the people did not want to compete. Only 2% of the people really wanted to compete after they said, oh, man, bring it on. Oh, yeah, you hear it, man. You ain't taking my job. 2% of the people. So the other 98% of the people did not want to compete. Now, let's take right off the top of that 98% that didn't want to compete, 2% of them quit right away. They were like, oh, I'm going to get a new job. I don't even want the stress of this. I'm out. So they're gone. Now, the other 98% of that, see what's left over, they basically said, I'm not going to just quit, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a scenario which requires me either to be fired or they're going to actually move me to another department or I'm going to have to take another job or something. Very passive aggressively taking the easy way out. You see what I'm saying? That's most of us. Most of us do not want to compete. So, and I say that because then I go back to my situation as far as how I ended up in prison. Okay. When I left the game of baseball, I looked around and I said, I have no college degree. I have no skills and I didn't really know what to do. So I passive aggressively got involved with some people and I actually got involved with an armed robbery, took the easy way out, cowardly. Okay. Now, here's another story. When I was in prison, there was a scuffle on the basketball court because you have the three races. There's the blacks, the whites, the Hispanics. And each time at recreation, you have to run out and get the court. So if the blacks get a court, the whites have to go down to the other end and they'll play with the Hispanics. So, but if the whites and Hispanics get a court, we're kind of asked out because the Hispanics don't want to play with us and the whites will not play with us. So what happened this particular day was the whites got the court, Hispanics got the other one. The one black dude just said, hey, we still want to play. It got into this whole verbal confrontation where the guards had to come in. And I was standing on the outside and I said, this is ridiculous. Why are we fighting over basketball? I said, look, I'm not fighting over any basketball. I said, if we're going to do that, I'm going to be sitting right over here on this chair. I said, this is stupid. And I said that in front of all the blacks that were out there ready to play basketball. So what happened at that point is I was deemed somebody not down for my community. All right. So when we went back to our cell, I got an earful from my cellie. And then on the way to chow, nobody walked with me. Nobody sat at the table in the chow hall. So for the next 2 or 3 days, nobody said a word to me. Now think about that. I felt very confident of taking a stance, but I also was scared to death. All right. So after about 2 or 3 days, I got approached by 2 spokesmen, Tiger and Cooper. All right. They came to me and they basically pulled me to the side. We were walking around the perimeter of the rec yard. And they basically told me, they said, look, you've got 2 choices. Either you get with the program over here on this side with all the blacks, or you go back to your cell, roll your stuff up, and go over to the other side because we're not going to deal with that. Stone cold silence as we were walking around the track. The only thing I heard was just the kind of the ruffling of our feet as we were, was scraping on the gravel. It seemed like a long time, but it probably only lasted about maybe 5 or 10 seconds. So then I spoke and I said, look, I said, in no way, I'm paraphrasing. I know it's in the book, and I believe it's on like, I'm not sure exactly where it is in the book, but it is in the book. I do tell the story. And so I said, look, in no way, shape, or form was I trying to be disrespectful to the black community. I said, I apologize. I said, but here's what's going on. I said that if I am to be removed, or am I going to leave from this side of the yard, it is going to physically take, I don't know how many people to get me out of that cell. I said, because I'm not moving. I said, I'm down, but I'm not moving. I'm not joining any gangs